What is Jordan Peterson's IQ argument doing? If we blur our eyes, what is the main thing he seems to be talking about? Well, I think it's pretty simple. Peterson is here trying to give us one major reason why wealth is so stratified in our society. Poverty in the United States tends to hover from around 11 to 15%, and many more Americans than that live with low incomes. That's a pretty shocking number, right? One that requires explanation. So Peterson comes in and says, you know what? 10 to 15% of people just aren't smart enough to be productive.
Under 87? Is there something? Well, no.
And doesn't that add some clarity to this picture? Wouldn't those slow people be astronomically more likely to be very poor? And couldn't this problem connection up, by the way?
What are you doing?
Peterson says it explicitly.
Huh? The relationship between poverty and intelligence is self-evident.
The video was skipping.
Oh.
Skipped around for me, but I think we're good now.
Over time. I'm not just making this connection up, by the way. Peterson says it explicitly.
The relationship between poverty and intelligence is self-evident if you're willing to think it through for any length of time.
There's something elegant to this theory, isn't there?
Okay.
Peterson here produces a psychological model and maps it onto the world in this very convenient seeming way. But in the end, when you actually look at his perspective on IQ, the conversations he wants so badly to have about it, and the way he justifies those conversations, problems start to emerge in his logic.
Okay. So, Joel, what are the chances that Joel is going to say, hey, Jordan Peterson is wrong? We've done studies about poverty and IQ and show that there isn't a correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances that Joel is going to produce any sort of evidence to that?
Any evidence of what?
What are you getting now? Corn cob, chicken, a dildo.
I'm having so much fun. No, I was going to put a poll up. I was going to say guess Big Joel's IQ. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say 85.
Right. There you go. No, but like this is, he has no. I want to play this clip from the video that Joel pulled, that clip that we just watched. Okay, I want to pull a clip from this. We can see evil Jordan Peterson, who wants to do some nefarious things to all the stupid people that he hates. Okay, and as Joel pointed out, Jordan Peterson is saying that everyone who's poor is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Cognitive capability are likely to end up poor because there are serious...
Wait, let me go back.
I should also be clear about this because it is so politically suspect, is that it's not like it's self-evident that people who have less cognitive capability are likely to end up poor because there are serious complex problems in life that beset them that they have a difficult time dealing with, and they can't learn as quickly. And so the relationship between poverty and intelligence is self-evident if you're willing to think it through for any length of time. It doesn't mean that everybody who's rich it doesn't mean that everyone who is rich is smart, and it doesn't mean that everyone who is poor is stupid.
Oh, isn't it so convenient that Joel like literally cut off the clip right before Jordan Peterson said the exact opposite of the thing he just claimed he said?
Wow.
Because that was the clip. He said he played the self-evident clip, and then he stops it right as Jordan Peterson says, I'm not saying everyone who's poor is stupid, everyone that's rich is smart. And Joel literally stops it right at that second.
Could he have found a clip where somebody else cut it off?
No.
And it wasn't Big Joel?
No, because Joel puts the sources of the Jordan Peterson clips in his description.
Oh,
and it's
wow.
this. It's the full video. It's not just a clip of it.
Wow. Dishonest, Joel. That's very dishonest.
To be blunt, but what it does mean is that if you're intelligent, you're much more likely to become financially successful. And I think it was the Herrnstein and Murray, I think, did the calculations back in the bell curve that indicated that if you imagine that you could you were a fairy godmother and you have your newborn grandchild in front of you, and you can grant them 3 standard deviations above the mean in terms of wealth at birth, or you can grant them 3 standard deviations above the mean in terms of IQ at birth, and then you wanted to determine which would work better for them by the time they were 40, and the answer to that was quite clear, is that IQ trumps wealth.
Okay, so you have Jordan Peterson talks about some guys looked at the data and they said, hey, people who are smarter are more likely to end up in better situations down the road than people that are born richer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he has some actual evidence that he's drawing from, unlike Joel, who's just pulling this all out of his fucking ass.
But some guys, though.
Huh?
But the some guys.
Right.
I mean, that was Charles Murray.
Oh, that's right. You know,
That's not just some guy.
Racist, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
That's the bell curve.
He said the bell curve. I'm so sorry. Right.
He
said
did.
the bell curve.
Yeah. What are you
book,
talking about?
How
Obviously.
Dare. How dare. Obviously.
Nobody
that's racist,
believes
yes.
Charles Murray's race
Right.
science. You got to understand.
Right. Okay.
Nobody on the left thinks of Charles Murray as a respected scientist.
Right. Of course.
In terms of its ability to predict a positive future. So,
yes. Yeah. And that's why I'm so interested in the concept of increasing IQ, or increasing the G factor, not just the IQ score, but really what under this reasoning ability. So, some people have tried to teach college students critical thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
It is.
You
You're
can
smart and you can think critically, so much the better.
Exactly, And, it may sound to your listeners, I just want to take a moment out here. It may sound to your listeners like, here are these 2 guys pontificating about what it's like to be smart, what it's like to be not so smart. I mean, the point of this, the point of neuroscience research on intelligence, and what I hope to achieve by writing the book, was to show that the genetic aspects are not deterministic.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Genes are probable.
Oh, look at
What?
Jordan
Oh, my
Peterson,
goodness.
biological determinist, agreeing with a neuroscience whose research is on intelligence, who's saying genetics are probabilistic, not deterministic. How, Jordan?
Yeah,
Such
because
a
a lot of
big
it has
hit.
to do with diet and environment, that kind of
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
It's almost like if Joel would have literally spent the 5 minutes to watch a little bit beyond the clip he clipped out. You didn't have to make the stupid fucking video full of lies that he made.
It's terrible. I mean, this is
Like, ridiculous.
This is like YouTube. This is basic.
This is insane. You just have to watch the video for like 5 more minutes.
Jordan Peterson is the target.
Yes.
Is the target that they just like to go
Right.
after. Yeah. It's very
Holistic.
sad.
So the extent to which something like intelligence is genetic, in my view, is the extent to which we'll learn how to change it for the better.
Right. Well, that's definitely, because people do tend to think about biological factors as deterministic, and that's a mistake because they can be shifted.
Oh no!
Oh my God.
No!
Oh my goodness.
Wow!
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, what are you doing?
Yeah,
You goof?
He basically just said, yeah, biological determinism is a mistake. That's what I heard. You heard the same thing, right, Sitch?
That's what I heard fucking literally say.
Yeah.
This is so stupid.
Sorry, Joel.
You literally had to watch like less than like a minute after where you clipped.
What's
You didn't
sad
want
is
to
he
watch
might
the
have
context around the clip that you did before you came up with your grand theory of Jordan Peterson's secret beliefs. You didn't think to watch like the 60 seconds before and after the clip you clipped out.
He probably did, though.
And so was Jordan Peterson just lying here? Is he just lying to this one guy?
No, he probably listened to it and was like, oh, well, I'm not going to use that. Jordan Peterson, that completely ruins my entire argument. That's what Big Joel would say. And he's like, I'm just not going to put that in the video.
So he's just being intentionally
Dishonest,
dishonest. Okay.
I mean, it seems that way.
And this is insane to me.
He had to hear this.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he's listened to, he says he's listened to hours of Jordan Peterson videos, so.
He just listened to all the hours except for the hours that prove him wrong.
Well, that's normally how people do it, yeah.
Yeah.
So the animal study. So, you pointed out that you can you can come up with an IQ-like estimate for, say, a rat. And have you seen anything that indicates, I don't care how it's done, through training or neurochemically or by promoting brain function in different ways, however you might do it, that's actually indicated to you that there is a way of biologically enhancing the general cognitive ability even of an animal? Has anything come out credible?
Just by breeding mice who run a maze faster than other mice.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, that's a...
Oh, this is the bad part?
The neuro... He's like, so is there anything you could do to biologically increase intelligence? And the neuroscientist whose job it is to research this is like, well, just eugenics.
Just by breeding, yeah.
Just by selective breeding.
Why didn't Big Joel use this clip? This would be one in his favor, right?
No, it wouldn't, because it would totally destroy the point.
Oh.
He wouldn't want to admit to this. Say they actually haven't found a solution to this.
Right.
Together, you get mice that seem to be able to learn how to run a maze faster. But that's work from the 1980s.
Right.
So I review this in the book. There are some interesting technologies that have been developed where you can turn parts of a rat brain on and off at will and see what happens. This has not yet been applied, as far as I know, to learning. But interestingly, there are human studies underway with things like transcranial magnetic stimulation and electrical ways to low voltage ways to stimulate parts of the brain. And there are some interesting experiments now being done with humans to see if you can improve learning or reasoning ability.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I edit this journal called Intelligence, which is kind of a prime spot for intelligence researchers to publish on all aspects of intelligence. And we're just starting to put together a special issue on human experiments to increase reasoning ability using these techniques of stimulating the brain.
Are any of you've seen some positive things with regards to low-level electrical stimulation? Because that's also been used. It's more anecdotal, but there's a bit of research being used to treat depression, for example.
That's right, and I do cover in the book the studies that were published up until the time I wrote the book and cautioned people that they hadn't been replicated yet.
Right.
But we're on the way. I mean, this is an evolving area that's going to be very exciting. I mean, if students are listening to this podcast and they're thinking about neuroscience or psychology, this kind of experiment is really a new phase of intelligence research where you can do experiments on human beings that are completely ethical and relatively non-intrusive.
Sitch, are you vacuuming over there?
And this is really going to change everything now, because it'll shift intelligence research from basically psychometric correlations past what neuroimaging has done, which really moved it away from just psychometrics, and then correlating psychometric scores with measurable aspects of the brain. Like,
okay, we can go back. I thought maybe it's a different clip I have lined up. There's a clip later. I think it's when he's talking to Steven Pinker, and Jordan Peterson's kind of talking about like how they've done the Jumpstart program for kids to see if that would raise kids' IQs and things of that nature. So, but anyway, we can go back to Joel. So now that Jordan Peterson in the clip that Joel sourced has completely nuked Big Joel's argument, let's go from orbit. Let's go back to Big Joel's BS rambling.